Where's my camera? Huh. Sorry about that. I forgot the camera again. Let's see. Let's get it going. All right. We're getting there. I went ahead and opened the door so the cats could go outside and quit pestering me. Ah. Oh, Lord. These 3 feral kittens have learned that there's food here. A local pet charity will get them spayed and neutered in a few weeks. And then they're bringing them back. So my next project is to get them tame enough for someone to adopt them. I can't keep them. No, I'm not. I have Tora and Sweetie. I don't need 3 kittens. They're adorable, but no. All right. The book of Daniel, chapter 4. If I remember correctly, this is the chapter that Nebuchadnezzar wrote. Yes, it is. The first verse. I'm in the English Standard Version, ESV. I gotta adjust the sound. There. King Nebuchadnezzar, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. It has seemed good to me to show the signs and wonders that the Most High God has done for me. How great are his signs, how mighty his... You evil phone. Do not disturb. Ah. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion endures from generation to generation. So you see, Daniel managed, hi at Sequentia, Daniel converted the pagan king of Babylon to worship the one true God. Now, that does not mean he went to worship. It does not mean that he got circumcised. It doesn't mean he became a Jew. But he recognized that the God of the Jews was the one true God. And how did he do it? God made him eat grass. He had a dream. I'm skipping a bit because it's long. But he had a dream and called everyone to interpret it for him. Then, verse 7, then the magicians, the enchanters, the Chaldeans, and the astrologers came in, and I told them the dream, but they could not make known to me its interpretation. At last Daniel came in before me, he who was named Belteshazzar, after the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. There's a little footnote about that. Let me see. Scrolling down, down, down. Or spirit of the holy God, no S and capital G. So, see, the Babylonians, when they brought their captives in from Jerusalem, took the nobility, the royals and high nobles, took the young men and made them members of the king's court in Babylon. Now, they don't always tell you this, but they were castrated. They didn't want Jewish nobility and royalty having children who might challenge others for the throne of Babylon. So, anyway, Daniel was one of those young men captured when Babylon conquered Jerusalem. Let's go back up. There's 2 dreams, by the way, in this chapter. And it's a very long description. In verse 9, let's see. O Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and that no mystery is too difficult for you, tell me the visions of my dream that I saw and their interpretation. So he's already made Daniel chief of the magicians because he's so good at interpreting dreams. And he goes on, the visions of my head as I lay in bed were these. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew and became strong, and its top reached to heaven, and it was visible to the end of the whole earth. Its leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it, and the birds of the heavens lived in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. I saw in the visions of my head as I lay in bed, and behold, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. So it isn't only Enoch, the book of Enoch, that talks about watchers and holy ones. And yeah, Belteshazzar, who is actually Daniel, who wrote most of this book, although this chapter was written by the king of Babylon. Hi, Morgan. He was sort of a royal therapist. I'm trying to type. Yeah, we keep getting clouds and then it gets dark and I can't see the keyboard. Okay, so here's Daniel interpreting dreams for the king of Babylon as described by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. I've been listening to YouTube videos by the Navajo. I can't remember the name of the channel, but this guy they call Wally, an elderly Navajo, talks about all their traditions, their way of life, and their religion. And the more I listen, the more it sounds like Judaism, if not Christianity. Anyway, the Navajo talk about the holy ones. And here Nebuchadnezzar says the watchers, the holy ones. In Navajo tradition, the people, the Dene, that's what they call themselves. Navajo is what some other tribe used to call them, a Navajo. Well, anyway, Um, they used to live in the second world with the holy ones, but now they live in the third world, and the holy ones are still in the second world. I find that very interesting. Okay, let's get back to Daniel. So, the king had this dream about a huge tree that feeds everyone, houses the birds, gives shades to animals. I saw in the visions of my head as I lay in bed, and behold, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. He proclaimed aloud and said thus, chop down the tree, and lop off its branches, and strip off its leaves, and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts flee from under it, and the birds from its branches. But leave the stump of its roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze, amid the tender grass of the field. Let him be wet with the dew of heaven. Let his portions be with the Let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his mind be changed from a man's, and let a beast's mind be given to him, and let 7 periods of time pass over him. The sentence is by the decree of the watchers, the decision by the word of the holy ones. Who are the watchers? Who are the holy ones? We call them angels. They're part of the heavenly host. Well, let's see. The sentence is by the decree of the watchers, the decision by the word of the holy ones, to the end that the living may know that the Most High rules the kingdom of men, and gives it to whom he will, and sets over it the lowliest of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, saw, and you, O Belteshazzar, that's Daniel, by the way, tell me the interpretation, because all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known to me the interpretation. But you are able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in you. Now, I say there are 2 dreams because the this chapter is about the second dream. The other dream is in an earlier passage. But the caption inserted by the translators is Daniel interprets the second dream. So he dreams of this huge tree, that, a tree of life, a tree that feeds the world, houses the birds, gives shades to the animals, and the watchers in his dream say, cut it down. Then Daniel, verse 19, then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was dismayed for a while, and his thoughts alarmed him. The king answered and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation alarm you. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, may the dream be for those who hate you, and its interpretation for your enemies. The tree you saw, which grew and became strong, so that its top reached to heaven, and it was visible to the end of the whole earth, whose leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant, and in which was food for all. I kind of having trouble scrolling. Under which beasts of the field found shade, and in whose branches the birds of heaven lived. It was you, O king, who have grown and become strong. Your greatness has grown and reaches to heaven, and your dominion to the ends of the earth. You see, in that time, people thought the whole world was basically the Middle East and North Africa. They kind of knew about Persia and India and maybe Greece, of course, but they didn't know anything about the Americas and China and so forth. So Nebuchadnezzar is basically the king of the whole world. And here he has grown strong and he feeds the whole world. Verse 23, and because the king saw a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven and saying, chop down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump of its roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 periods of time pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king. It is a decree of the Most High. So earlier it said it was decided by the watchers, the holy ones. And now it says a decree of the Most High. So apparently, God consults with his cabinet, his holy ones, his watchers in the heavenly council. There are some Psalms, Psalm 18 and Psalm 82, I think, that talk about the council in the heavens. Okay, so this is the interpretation. It is a decree of the Most High, which has come upon my Lord the King, that you shall be driven from among men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. You shall be made to eat grass like an ox, and you shall be wet with the dew of heaven, and 7 periods of time shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. So it isn't just Daniel who converted Nebuchadnezzar. Here, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, is saying that the Almighty God taught him who's the real boss. It isn't this man, Nebuchadnezzar, who's in charge. God is in charge. The Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. And as it was commanded to leave the stump of the roots of the tree, your kingdom shall be confirmed for you from the time that you know that heaven rules. Therefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable to you. Break off your sins by practicing righteousness, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the oppressed, that there may perhaps be a lengthening of your prosperity. All this came upon Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon. That's weird. And the king answered, I'm not sure for who, to whom he was answering. And the king answered and said, is not this great Babylon, which I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence and for the glory of my majesty? While the words were still in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven. O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you, and you shall be driven from among men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and you shall be made to eat grass like an ox. So I guess Nebuchadnezzar didn't listen to Daniel's warning. Back to the uh, Bible. And 7 periods of time shall pass over you until you know that the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. So God is telling him, you're not in charge, God is in charge. I think this is very applicable today. It kind of reminds me of things that are going on in the national news. I don't think anyone is eating grass like an ox. Maybe he's eating ice cream. You cats, get out of there. You had enough treats. They're trying to get more. The Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. Immediately the word was fulfilled against Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from among men and ate grass like an ox, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven till his hair grew as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails were like birds' claws. At the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my reason returned to me. And I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. So, God, I think that was 7 years, 7 periods of time. Could be 7 weeks or 7 months. But traditionally, they say it's 7 years. But whatever it was, God took away his sanity and then restored it. And on the national news, I see many of our leaders in similar predicaments. All right, Patches, say hello to your adoring fans. This is the only one of the kittens I can actually handle, pick up and pet, and so forth. In fact, she demands attention to the point where I'm just, get off of me. You rotten cat, go play with your sisters. Yes, you're cute, but you had enough treats. You did. Ah, get off of me. All right, I'll have to bribe her. I'm pretty sure she's a calico, so that would mean she has to be female. And with my luck, they're probably all females, all three of them. There used to be four, but one disappeared. Yes, that's Sequentia, a special guest star appearance by Patches. She doesn't know her name. I figure when she gets adopted, they'll give her a name. What? Get off my case. No, you can't have my coffee. No. All right. Now, the last ditch effort is to get her to go away. It isn't exactly a squirt gun, but it does the same thing. Go on. I don't have to use it usually, I just show it to her now. Do you want to eat grass like an ox? So that's enough of the Bible for now. And et Sequentia says the hubris and belief God is not above man, but that man himself will be God or make God out of himself is strongly linked with Gnosticism, at least from what I heard. And Morgan says, I often used to just blow air in their face to get the kittens to go away. They hate that. Well, she especially hates it when I blow cigarette smoke anywhere just in her direction. Cats are wise. They know cigarettes are bad. Well, anyway, Gnosticism and Scientology and Mormonism all tell people they can become gods and rule their own planets. I don't want that job. It's too much work and responsibility. And I'd probably screw it up and hurt people if I tried to be a little god ruling a planet. Well, in Gnosticism, you go back to the, oh, what do they call it? Well, it's basically the source. But they have a name for it that I've forgotten. Philip K. Dick dabbled in Gnosticism. He had books about the Nag Hammadi manuscripts. He did a lot of reading, but often what he did was read about the source material. He'd read reviews of books and movies. He'd read books about the various manuscripts found at Nag Hammadi, which are considered Gnostic. But he didn't dive deep enough to read the actual manuscripts. And one of his favorite sources of information was the Encyclopedia Britannica. You know, there's only so much time. He did watch that movie, The Man Who Fell to Earth, in the theater. No, at Sequentia, Phil definitely did not think he was God or that he could become a god. And one of his favorite things to do was to have conversations with the nearby Episcopal priest. Yes, the David Bowie movie at Sequentia. It's kind of, it's the movie in his novel Valis. They go to see this movie. It's based on The Man Who Fell to Earth. You need to remember, though, that Valis is fiction. Too many people read it as an autobiography, as being about the things that happened in his own life. But it really is fiction. He would take something that really happened and then extrapolate and go, what if? Or maybe it should have been like that instead of this. Yeah, I suppose I should see The Man Who Fell to Earth, but I haven't been able to find it for free, so I'm probably going to have to rent it on YouTube or something. I'll bet I can find short clips and previews and such. But it would help me to understand more than just what Phil told me about the movie. Oh, Morgan has seen it. It's a fantastic movie, and Morgan loves it. Good. Well, here we are on a Wednesday. YouTube says I have 2 listeners. Let's see. Yeah, 2 listeners and 2 chatters and 2 thumbs up. That's 100%. Well, the cats are driving me mad. And my garden is failing again. In June, it was too cold to plant. In July, it was too hot to put plants outside. And I have limited space in the house. And now, so I went and bought tomato plants that were about 6 inches tall, and half of them have died. I don't see any fruit yet, and usually in August I have tons of tomatoes. So I don't know what's going on this year. But like, we'll have a whole week of incredibly hot temperatures in the 90s, even as high as 98 Fahrenheit. And then we'll have 3 days when it's cold, and I wish I had not shut down the heater, but I'm not turning it on because I can't afford to run it. I'm still playing catch up with the heating bills from June, when it shouldn't be cold. It should be, all warm, sunny days, and it wasn't. Oh well. So remember, God is in charge. Not the president, not the Supreme Court, not the Congress, God. That doesn't mean we shouldn't, participate in politics, even though it makes me want to puke. But, I have concerns about Trump, but I already knew that Biden was dirty. And yet, Biden won. Apparently, we're allowed to talk about that now. I see enough YouTube videos about it. But God forbid we should mention a certain ailment that spread throughout the world and locked us down for 3 years. But I do remember, and I have checked, and Trump did not issue mandates or lockdowns. He just made recommendations. It was the next guy. Oh, who allowed the unelected bureaucrats sitting at their desks in air conditioned offices in D.C. to tell us um, what was essential and what we had to give up, and what we had to do, and what our doctors had to do or were not allowed to do. And I broke my hip in the middle of that. I was on a non-COVID ward and so anxious to get out. I seem to have been the only one who was not a COVID patient. And I didn't get much attention. I got a nurse to put my cell phone on the charger, and it was in a place where I could not reach it. And even with my hip all put back together with titanium pins, I could not leave the bed. So it was several hours before I heard someone in the hallway and called out asking for help. It was a volunteer, what they used to call candy stripers, and she got me my phone. And I said, I had brought my own crutches. I'm a Girl Scout. Once a Scout, always a Scout, even though I haven't been an actual member since I was 10 years old. Um, I was prepared. I brought my own crutches. Good thing, too, they didn't provide a walker or crutches or anything. And I needed to get to the restroom, and my crutches were across the room. So she brought me my crutches and helped me get to the toilet. And while I was in there, some doofus came in and took my lunch. Even took the things that I had taken off the tray because I wanted to keep my coffee and my toast and a couple other things. Well, by that time, a nurse finally came in, and she went around to wherever she could find things and brought me some crackers and coffee and a glass of water and a few other things. It was quite interesting. And then the doctor wanted to send me to a nursing home. You know, skilled nursing care is what they call it. Fortunately, my brother and his wife are retired nurses, so he let me go home to them, their home. Someone wants to know whether I've seen an alien. I've seen people who said they were aliens, but they looked human to me. And as Phil used to say, quoting someone who said it to him, do you believe everything you hear? Well, anyway, I recently had what they call a DEXA scan. It's like an x-ray, but it looks at your bone density. My spine, my backbones are absolutely fine, but my hips have osteoporosis. Well, I'm 69 years old. A little bit of that is to be expected, but I'm not happy with it, so I'm doing what I can without their horrible medication. It was, I thought I was going to die when I tried that crap. Um, supplements, diet, and so forth. But I am very happy to learn that my spine is okay, except for the compressed discs that are making me 4 inches shorter than I used to be. And Morgan suspects that David Bowie, I guess, was a starseed or wanderer. Maybe he was a walk in. They talk about people where some other person kind of walks into their body and takes over. Sounds like demonic possession to me. But I guess it isn't necessarily evil. But I don't know much about David Bowie. I did see him in one movie that I thought was really good, and I keep forgetting the title of it. Let me see. It was kind of like Cinderella. He was actually a singer. Uh, Come on, Google, show me. Um, Filmography. I think it was a TV movie. Labyrinth, 1986. Why do I think that I saw it in the 70s? Well, anyway, I saw Labyrinth. It was kind of a Cinderella story, sort of, but very, very surreal. Yes, at Sequentia, there are workouts to do sitting in a chair, especially when it's Great Granny's rocking chair. I do mostly stretches and walking. I can't walk as much as I used to. Yes, Labyrinth is an 80s classic. It was a very good movie. I think I must have seen it on cable TV. That's it. We had cable for a short time in the 80s. My son and I had it. Very good movie. Well, I'm going to have to check out at least clips and previews from The Man Who Fell to Earth. Oh, bodybuilding all over YouTube? Well, I don't want to do bodybuilding. At this point, what I need to do is strengthen my muscles in my upper legs and my lower back. But mostly, I need to do stretching because when I walk, I get my muscles tightening up. That's called guarding. And it's debilitating. It gets to where I can't walk. But I've been doing deep dives into supplements, but a lot of it is a bunch of hooey. Talk about misinformation. One doctor says, don't eat salt. And another doctor says, salt deficiency can kill you. Salt your food to taste. But I think what the no salt guy was getting at is all these processed foods, the TV dinners and the snacks and candy bars, and they're loaded with sugar too. And I suspect it's more the sugar that's the problem, not the salt. Having too much salt, the peer reviewed research is all over the place with regard to blood pressure. And if you have a deficiency, if you don't have enough salt, it can be worse than if you have too much. But sugar is of the devil. I love sugar. But as I get older, I eat less and less of it. When I was in college, I'd take my cup of coffee and put in 3 teaspoons, heaping teaspoons of sugar. Now I don't even like it with a whole teaspoon. I do about half a teaspoon. But I do love sugar. Just don't want as much of it as I used to. And I got some of those donuts, little donuts, wrapped in plastic. Uh, they were so greasy. They had so much vegetable fat in them. Like shortening, margarine, that sort of thing. I couldn't eat them. I don't remember them being that bad when I was younger. So maybe they've changed, or maybe I've changed, or maybe both. Hi, L. Freeman. You missed the book of Daniel, chapter 4, where Nebuchadnezzar is made to eat grass for 7 periods of time because he thought he was in charge of the world, and God said, "No, you aren't. I am." Patches, you also missed the guest appearance by Patches. Ah, L. Freeman is reading Firebright. Philip K. Dick remembering Firebright. I recently found the original manuscript from the early 1980s, and I think it's more the late 1980s. It was closer to the events and probably has better dates and details. Yes, at Sequentia, if God didn't want us to eat sugar, he wouldn't have made it so sweet. Also, alcohol and cigarettes. Hi, Viken. Well, you've got to read Daniel chapter 4 on your own because I skipped a few parts, but it's repetitive. I already went through it. The basic message is God is in charge, the king is not. And I sure pray that God is in charge of the world today because the humans are making such a mess of it. Do you know that high security labs are trying to prepare for the next epidemic? They think there's one coming. That's scary. Yes, well, et sequentia, Aramaic is what they spoke and wrote in Babylon. Look at here's Patches making another guest appearance. You're a pest. Get off me. Just get off of me. Secret weapon. All I have to do is show it to her. She's gone. I'm trying to get her adopted. The other two aren't anywhere near to being adoptable, but she's getting there. Well, in Hebrew, even before the Babylonian exile, you'll find that the Israelites borrowed Aramaic words, kind of the way English uses words from all over the world. We have words from French, of course, because William the Bastard conquered England in 1066. Say hello. Do you see the kitty in the screen there? Yeah, well, get off me. I'm tired and busy. I gave you everything. Go on. Go and play. Um, let's see. We have words from Australia. Even though they speak English, it isn't the English that Americans speak. Like didgeridoo. You tell them, Tora, they're pests. Come here, Tora. You want to say hi to your adoring fans? Come on. Oh, you're heavy. There, here's the star of the show. Aw, kitty kisses. Yes. Such a good, sweet girl. Yeah, I don't blame you. They're pests. Patches, go away. Go on. This Tora's house. Yes, Tora's the best. All right, Patches, have some treats. You too, Patches' sister. Number 3 is much more timid, and I don't see her around here. Ow! Ow! Tora, don't walk on my foot. Okay. Hang on. Where are you? I can't give you treats if I can't find you. Oh. God. I'm running out of treats. That could be a problem. L. Freeman only read the E.L. Doctorow version of the Book of Daniel. Oh, the Rosenbergs. They were convicted of espionage and executed. And of course, they had 2 small children. They were convicted of stealing secrets of the atomic bomb and giving them to the Russians. At the time, the Soviet Union. There are those who insist that the Rosenbergs were guilty, and others who insist that the Rosenbergs were framed. This was late 1940s, early 1950s, I think. Odds are, though, that the Soviet Union already had the secrets. So the Rosenbergs were convicted of espionage in 1951, Google says. They were executed in 1953 at Sing Sing. I think that's in New York. A lot of conflict over that. A lot of people think that even if they were guilty, execution was a bit too much. And the odds are that the Soviet Union already had the secrets of the atomic bomb. Oh, what was the old Dr. O's book called? Let me see. E.L. Dr. O. Rosenberg. Let's see what it comes up with. Oh, it's called The Book of Daniel. And you can get it on Amazon. It's a fictionalized exploration of the Rosenbergs' arrest, execution, and the impact it had on their two children. I'm tired of cats. They're cute. Kitties are so cute. Uh, but they turn into cats. And kitten claws are dangerous. They don't have as much control as an adult cat, and the claws are so thin and sharp. It's like having 10 stilettos shoved into your skin all at once when a kitten hops on your lap. Anyway, the Rosenbergs did like communism as a philosophy. They did have concerns about making all these atomic bombs. But, well, this was before the McCarthy hearings on communism, but it kind of sounds to me like the thought police of George Orwell's 1984. Oh, you sympathize with the Soviet Union, therefore you're a criminal? I thought we had learned our lesson then. Ah, that's interesting. Sidney Lumet directed the movie of Dr. O's book. I saw some kind of movie or documentary back in the dark ages about the Rosenbergs. And I'm not convinced that they were guilty, but I'm not convinced that they were innocent. The Soviets shot down Korean Air 007. Well, now it isn't the Soviet Union, it's Russia. But NATO is playing a game of checkers, and Russia is playing a game of chess. NATO has, after making a treaty with the Soviet Union that if they would take down the wall in Berlin, as President Reagan demanded, and dissolve the Soviet Union, NATO would not encroach into Eastern Europe. So the first thing they did was bring Poland into NATO. Poland is right between Germany and Russia. It's Eastern Europe. And then they brought in Romania, which is right next to Ukraine, and also has an important port on the Black Sea, very important to Russia, leaving Russia only with Sebastopol in the Crimea as a warm water port. And now we're trying to take Ukraine into NATO, but recently NATO declined to allow Ukraine to join. So maybe they're beginning to play chess instead of checkers. I don't know what that is, L. Freeman. I'm not going to say it because I don't know what it means. But really, Crimea became part of Russia shortly before our Civil War when Russia, this was long before the Soviet Union, it was Russia, kicked the Ottoman Empire out in the Crimean War. It's Russian blood that liberated Crimea. They would have liberated Ukraine, but England and France were allies with the Ottoman Empire of Turkey. And at the end of the war, they forced Russia to give Ukraine back to the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire. But Russia kept Crimea. And it was Russian blood that liberated Crimea. That's where the Cossacks got a good reputation, and somewhere in all of that, we had the Charge of the Light Brigade. There's a poem about them. They were massacred because they were stupid. Their leadership was stupid. The Light Brigade, I believe, was English, British. The Russians had Cossacks in their military. Cossacks were very fierce warriors, good fighters. And they came from, we need a trumpet or something, da-da-da-da, Kazakhstan. They were Kazakhs. This was before our Civil War, before 1860. I don't remember the exact dates. But the United States was kind of busy with a little kerfuffle kicking Mexico out of Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and California. A long, complicated story there, but the Mormons in Utah were scared to death of Santa Anna, Mexico's dictator. You know how he got his troops to fight and to massacre the people at the Alamo? They didn't want to. They figured they could just wait them out, just surround them and wait till they ran out of food. Santa Anna wanted those people massacred, even women and children. So he placed the line of cannons, behind his troops. And it was either you go kill those people or we'll shoot you with the cannon. Yeah. You had to bring up Taiwan at Sequentia. Fewer than 1% of the people of Taiwan are ethnic Chinese. They're native islanders and Japanese. Taiwan was a Japanese colony, and before that, it was a colony of Portugal. It was not part of China, but the mainland Chinese have never forgiven. I think his name was Chiang Kai shek, the deposed president of China, democratically elected and then toppled by Mao Zedong. He took the treasury, he took all the gold to Taiwan and set up an alternate government, leaving mainland China in real poverty because all the gold was gone, so their money became worthless. When I was a child, we were playing with Chinese coins. They were toys, they weren't worth anything. Al Freeman says NATO has been playing worse than checkers, tic tac toe, and Russia's playing Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, finally, Kurchatov was the Soviet scientist who made the Soviet atom bomb. Remember, we had Operation Paperclip and other more secret operations bringing Nazi scientists to the United States. Well, so did the Soviet Union. I'm 90% sure that they already knew how to make an atom bomb. Nazi Germany was very close to making their bomb when the war ended. Oh, L. Freeman says the Crimean War was 1856. Thank you. Uh, it's important to know some history. I'm tired of hearing people talk about how bloody the 20th century was because over the course of two world wars, over 200,000 people died. But the 1800s, the 19th century were so peaceful in comparison. In just in our American Civil War, over 600,000 people died. And we had the Mexican American War, the Crimean War, the Spanish American War that shot Teddy Roosevelt to fame, the charge on San Juan Hill in Cuba. What I know about Teddy Roosevelt is mostly from that play, Arsenic and Old Lace, because their nephew Teddy thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt, and he'll run up the stairs with a sword in his hand, yelling "Charge!" because he thinks he's climbing San Juan Hill. So we liberated Cuba, the Philippines, a bunch of the Caribbean islands, like St. Thomas. I forget the names of all of them. We liberated Haiti and what's the country that shares that island? Anyway, most of them, well, all of them really, we let them have their own governments, their territories. They aren't states, but Jamaica, Puerto Rico. Once in a while, some people want to make Puerto Rico a state, but it never goes anywhere. Same with Guam and Samoa near Hawaii. The Philippines decided they didn't want to be part of the United States, so we said, okay. And they are no longer an American territory, but we still have at least one military base there. We gave back one of them when they were demanding we give back that land and leave. Well, the volcano buried one of the military bases, so we gave it back to the Philippines. Someone once asked me in an interview, when will the Americans leave Iraq? And my response was, when did we leave Berlin? When did we leave Cuba? When did we leave, Okinawa? We don't leave. We still have a military base in Cuba, for crying out loud. And yes, we still have a military base, at least one, in Iraq. 20 years later. And we still have leaders getting us into senseless wars that are not necessary. Unless you want to kill off a generation. After World War I, we had what we call the lost generation because so many young men on both sides died fighting a senseless war. Freeman says in Germany they were stumbling around and making dumb mistakes. They couldn't figure out the difference between fast and slow neutrons. And in the Soviet Union, Stalin kept putting his scientists into gulags. Then he found out how much he needed them. Now, well, Stalin was a major asshole. He was evil. Stalin made Hitler look like an amateur when it came to killing Jews and other people. And then Mao Zedong made Stalin look like an amateur, deliberately starving millions of his own people. Stalin is responsible, for the most part, for the hatred of Ukrainians toward Russians. He took away the land from the farmers and installed good communists to grow the crops, and they didn't know what they were doing. People starved. And what few crops managed to grow were taken to feed to people in Moscow, so the Ukrainians were still starving. It's a shame. It's evil. Khrushchev promised that the Soviet Union would bury the United States economically. He's the Soviet leader who banged his shoe on the table I think it was at the UN. That's a big insult. You might remember that in one press conference, someone threw a shoe at George W. Bush. He ducked, it didn't hit him. But the shoe thing is a major insult, worse than the middle finger. Well, I'm just really upset. We are at war all over the world, and the media don't tell us about it. Well, we really are. In some cases, like Ukraine, we just send weapons to keep the war going, but there are American troops there, supposedly just teaching the Ukrainians how to use the weapons we sent them, but some of them are fighting. Some are not officially our military anymore, but you need to understand that once you join the military, whether it's the National Guard or the reserves or the main forces, our government can call you up anytime for the rest of your life. Even if you were drafted and didn't volunteer. Although many former military go into the national security organizations, they aren't official employees usually. Sometimes they are, but usually they're consultants or contractors. FBI, CIA, DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, Homeland Security. We have so many spy organizations now, I can't name them all. And the people on the ground doing the work, I have great respect for them, but their leadership is nuts. Since when is the greatest danger to our nation people who disagree with the media or the politicians? Yeah, Russia, well, Stalin was nuts, and the people who followed him were less worse, at least. Khrushchev, Brezhnev, I can't name them all. But I do remember Reagan in a speech in Berlin saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." These people were escaping by any means from East Germany into West Germany. When World War II ended, families were separated according to which side of the wall they happened to be on when the wall was built. And then um, there was a highway because Berlin was within the East Germany, the Soviet Republic of East Germany. There we had a highway that did nothing but take supplies from West Germany into West Berlin, which was um, part of our side of Germany, West Germany. And there were some political things going on, and the Soviet Union closed the highway. So American pilots risked their lives flying over and dropping crates of food and other supplies, in crates with parachutes until the Soviet Union decided that closing the highway wasn't such a good idea after all. That was under President Kennedy. The guy who was shot, probably, well, for many reasons, but one of the biggest ones was that he did not want to escalate the war in Vietnam. He wanted to pull us out. And then we got LBJ, who made Vietnam a bloodbath for the Americans. And many people insist that we had actually won. We had done so much damage to North Vietnam that we had really won when President Nixon ended the draft and began pulling troops out. So they Watergated him and had Gerald Ford step in and make a total disaster of pulling out of Vietnam. That was our biggest shame before Afghanistan. Yeah, Stalin had a habit of killing anyone in government or science or whatever who was competent because they were a threat to his power. Either kill them or send them to the gulag. I'm trying to remember who it was when Solzhenitsyn was finally allowed to leave the Soviet Union. He wrote that novel about the Gulag Archipelago. Some major American politician refused to meet with him. I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was one of our presidents. Hi, Tora. Yes, you're cute and you're sweet, but you're bugging me, and I'm doing my podcast. I'm gonna run out of treats, and then you won't have any for days and days on end. I'm waiting for the canned food to get delivered. I could open a can of people tuna, but not while I'm doing YouTube. I don't know why he refused to meet him. When was Solzhenitsyn released? Oh, I can't spell it, so I'll just do my best. Oh, it was 1974. He was arrested and deported and sent to Frankfurt, West Germany, and stripped of Soviet citizenship. 1974. Um, well, Jimmy Carter was president then. It was either Gerald Ford, 74. Excuse me. No, Nixon was in the middle of Watergate. It must have been Gerald Ford who refused to meet him. Oh, hi, Jonah. Jonah says, sounds like it was Ford at the suggestion of Kissinger. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Ford. Let's see. Yeah, Google says in July 3, 1975, White House official says President Ford refused to meet with Alexander Solzhenitsyn on advice from the National Security Council. Another reason to hate Gerald Ford. The Warren Commission and the Magic Bullet, then Vietnam withdrawal, and now wouldn't meet Solzhenitsyn. What are you cats doing? You're just bugging me. I'm out of kibble and canned food, but they're going to bring some on the United Parcel truck today. I hope they come soon. Yeah, well, Patches, say hello. Can you hear that purring motor? Tora doesn't like Patches. She says, this is my house and my human. Yes. Thank you, L. Freeman. Yes, it was Gerald Ford. Ah. That's why I voted for Jimmy Carter. It's all coming back to me now, mainly for the pullout from Vietnam, where they pulled out the military and left civilians behind in Vietnam. Patches, get out of my coffee. Hi, Tora. You guys are bugging me. All right. I have to give him to Patches first or she'll ambush all the other kitties. Where's Tora? Tora. Lord. They're vultures. Well, when I get off of this podcast, I will open a can of people tuna for them because that's all I've got until my package is delivered. Yesterday, one of the neighbor's cats just walked in bold as you please and began eating. Tora was just watching him until I stepped in. Then Tora jumped on him because she knew I'd have her back. You cats are driving me insane. Oh, all three of the kittens are here now, and Tora's not having it. I better sign off and go open the tuna. Yeah, well, Tora mostly drinks the juice, but she puts her paw into the can and gets a little bite and licks it off her paw. It's very entertaining. So let's see. we'll do the thank you all for listening and not 2G's and listening. And have a great day. And remember, God is in charge. And if you tuned in late, there's chapter 4 of the book of Daniel. In case you actually have a Bible, Daniel chapter 4. God is in charge. See ya. Bye.